Welcome, welcome, everyone. Thank you for stopping in today and checking us out as we go through our favorite movies from 1986. In the chat today, so far, we've got Doe Studios. Doe, thanks for showing up. Big M, how are you, sir? Rob78, always a pleasure. Looks like everybody else in the chat is on the panel. I'm sure more will show up as time goes on. I know we're expecting Sam Newsman and Casual Toy Chat and all of those nice people. Before we get into the actual show tonight, I thought we'd go over a little bit. Each panelist could talk a little bit about some of their favorite things from 1986. And I didn't prepare anyone, so this is off the cuff. So don't get mad at anybody. Oh, hey, there's Digital Caveman, who is also on the panel.
How did you do that
along
twice?
with Ed. There's Casual Toy Chat. Spoke him into existence. Very nice, very nice. So on television in 1986, we had a few milestones starting up on television. We had Alf start up. Pee-wee's Playhouse started that year. We had Dial MTV. If you guys remember Dial MTV, that started that year. Double Dare, where they started dumping green slime on children legally. Fast Times got their own TV show. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. WWE started the Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge that year. USA started their Up All Night with Saturday Nightmares. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was kind of fun.
USA Up All Night.
Right? A couple different hosts, Gilbert Godfrey and Rhonda Shear. Rhonda was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Head of the Class started that year. That was a good one.
Ooh, that was a good one.
And for some reason, they brought back Hollywood Squares, and they're doing that again this year, from what I understand. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyone on here remember anything specific about TV shows they were watching in 1986?
No, you covered a lot of the stuff that I was watching that I can think of right now. Oh.
Well, that's all the stuff that was new that year. I know a lot of other stuff was still going at the time. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was I remember those days. I would go by my Estray Blue. How are you, my friend?
Astray.
Yeah, back then I remember I would go to my friend's house late at night to watch Headbangers Ball on MTV. You guys remember Headbangers
Yes.
Ball?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
A lot of fun on that. And speaking of music, a lot of good music that year as well.
Yes, a lot.
Let's see here. We had
Well, you don't have to look for me to tell you that it was Metallica Master of Puppets. Hands down, one of the greatest albums of all fucking time. To me, in my heart, even though it only was number 7, Madonna True Blue was number 1. In my heart, it'll always be number 1 for 1986. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Madonna True Blue was one of the first. I bought that and Van Halen 5150 on the same day. But yeah, you guys remember Mr. Mister? They had Broken Wings and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Those were both masterpieces.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy was partying all the time. Whitney Houston wanted to know how will she know if he really loves her, and we found out later that that didn't really work out too good for her.
It was.
Don't forget those 3 fine gentlemen that used to rock so well.
Robert Palmer was Addicted to Love. That was a great song from that year.
Oh yeah.
Peter Gabriel had Sledgehammer and Big Time that year.
Yeah.
New Shoes, Couldn't Wait. Berlin, Took My Breath Away. Like so many good songs from this year. Any that's still Bananarama, My Venus. What a great video that was.
Yeah.
They had me like Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling.
Dancing on the ceiling.
Cyndi Lauper showed her true colors while Kenny Loggins went to the danger zone. Howard Jones Didn't Feel Like Anyone Was to Blame, which was a very good song. No One Is to Blame. Manic Monday from the Bangles with Susan. So very
written by Prince.
In Excess had a couple really big hits that year.
Well,
A lot of really good
What you
music
need.
that year. Anything stick out in anyone else's mind particularly?
Didn't Prince have music out that year?
Yeah,
He did.
Monday.
Prince put out his biggest hit of the year was "Kiss,"
Yes.
later covered
Beastie
by Tom
Boys.
Jones.
Beastie Boys' License to Ill, yo.
Yes, that was
Yes.
that's my album of the year. Is Beastie Boys' "License to Ill."
Yes.
Mostly for the influence it had on me at that time.
Yeah, Run DMC came out with I believe
Walk This Way.
Aerosmith that year.
Yeah,
right?
"Walk This Way"
By-
with Run DMC
by
and
the,
Aerosmith.
by the great
That was,
Rick Rubin.
pretty groundbreaking.
I'll be back in a minute.
All right. Curtis will be back shortly, apparently. M3, how about you, man? Anything stick out in your mind for 1986?
I'll be real short. Not really. I was in the 4th grade. Music didn't hit me until the 7th grade. So I'm not saying anything, but everybody here is a little bit older than me, and I could really see because in 1986, when you guys were actually listening to this music, it's what my sister Helena was listening to, and I remember trickling down and hearing a lot of the music that she was in. But that's all I gotta say. I wasn't into music. I was into playing around outside and riding my bike and my friends in the little neighborhood that we had, you know. But yeah,
Give
thanks.
me
Bob.
some of that tron.
Yeah, there were a lot of like music videos were very popular at the time. And you know, what little bit of my adolescence was still asleep at the time woke up thanks to Bananarama and Whitney Houston. And oh man, I recorded the How Will I Know video and watched it like 16 times in a row because Whitney was so hot. But yeah, Digital, how about you, man? Anything stick out in your head in particular?
You know,
TV, music?
unfortunately, I didn't have time to research what actually came out in that year because you know,
Oh man, there's so
we got
much.
hit
bro.
up. But I'm sure there was a ton of stuff that I just
You know, it's funny. We went through at the beginning of that year. We went through some crazy shit. First thing was the Challenger exploding, then Halley's Comet. Then the Bears won the Super Bowl. Duck Bears. Sweet.
Right. The only reason I didn't
Super Bowl
mention the
shuffle
Bears was because it was technically the 85 season that they won the Super Bowl for, even though it happened
It
in
was
January.
played in 1986, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, yes.
That's what he's explaining.
Yeah, the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, I can
Another big hit of the
definitely
year.
remember we were watching the Challenger launch in class.
We were too.
That day, and boom, and
A
everyone.
lot of children can recall where they were at that
Russian
moment.
lasers, and nobody knew what the hell happened. And
Yeah, we were watching it as it happened on television.
What about M3?
And,
Does he got anything?
A whole lot of tasteless jokes came out right after it. And I think enough time has passed that I could tell at least one of them. What was the teacher on the flight's last words?
McCullough. Oh, I don't know.
Christy. It was
Christy
Christy something. Christy McCulloch or something
McCullough,
like that.
or yeah.
Krista McAuliffe.
Was what the joke was? What were Kristen McCulloch's last words? And it was, "What's this button for?"
God.
Hey, look, enough time has passed. It's not too soon.
I've got a joke for that, Prophet. You know how when you see the explosion, it happened in the middle and it split off in two ways. So what color were Christy McCullough's eyes? One blue this way and one blue that way.
Yeah, the blue. Yeah, I remember that joke.
Forgive me, Lord.
Oh.
He's like, that's it.
Shadow Slick Goku Black, thanks for showing up.
Hey, Shadow.
All right. So, Ed, anything to add?
A correction, Party All the Time by Eddie Murphy, written by Rick James, came out in 1985 and charted. But that's cool. Need You Tonight was the NXS hit of that year. The next year, 1987, the best year in music, had the Kick album, which had all the big hits for NXS. Yep.
Yeah, Party All the Time may have been released in 85, but it was still on the 86 Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, but
Nobody speaks of Iron
charted
Maiden's
in
album in
85.
1986.
It doesn't matter. See, he started partying in 85 and he was still
85 and it
partying
just
in
kept going.
86.
Right, he just kept right on going until Rick James ruined his couch with his muddy boots.
Oh,
Yes.
Oh dear.
What about
super freaking? Ow.
What I know there was some hip hop that came out that year that was good. I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, well, at the same time when the Beastie Boys was starting up with and Run DMC was out there, the stuff that hadn't hit the radio yet that was already out was NWA and Two Live Crew. Those had started around that time as well.
Yeah.
But obviously those things weren't going to chart. People weren't, the masses weren't ready yet.
Right.
Speaking of not ready yet, 1986.
Yeah, Two Live Crew was one of those things for like your older
Now go ahead.
sibling or your cool uncle or whatever. He's like, "Hey, I heard this funny shit the other day. I want you to hear it."
Right. Uncle thought it was a joke. We took it serious.
Yeah.
Moto, what were you saying?
I said, even though, in my opinion, the best of Metallica came out in 1986, we also lost Cliff Burton in a bus crash that year.
Yeah, we did. What a horrible way to go, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Horrible.
being crushed by a tipped over bus is not a good way, man.
Oh.
Sticking your body halfway out the window, yelling at the fans. It's cut in half, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough. The bus tipped while he was hanging out the window and crushed him. It was
Yeah,
brutal.
didn't they hit like a patch of black ice?
Something like that. And Jason Newsted could never fill those shoes. Anesthesia Pulling Teeth may be the best bass solo ever written. But now that we're all depressed, let's get happy and look at some movies.
Yeah, I'm just imagining the bus crash. That's crazy. Sorry.
Oh, one thing about 1986, the Cobra Night Raven came out.
That it did, man. What a great vehicle that was.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So as you guys know, I like
Chernobyl.
to turn the thumbnail into something relevant to the movie's year. And as you can see here, we've got nice little scene recreated with Kaz and Bruce from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's
They're
racist.
joyriding in Cameron's Ferrari. And M3 Curtis and I are watching it happen. There's our marquee. You can see some of the movies that were huge that year. But shall we get started?
Sure.
So the first movie on the list tonight, Aliens.
Oh,
Picked by Digital, M3, Moto Viper, myself, and Curtis.
Excellent.
So we're going to go ahead and start at the bottom now. Digital, why don't you start us off on Aliens?
Okay. Well, I'm hoping everyone has seen this movie. This is one of those movies that everybody needs to watch. And when after you watch the first one, you kind of expected something along the same lines, but Aliens was more of an action movie than it was like a thriller horror type like the first movie. And just great one-liners in there, and you got Bill Paxton acting like a little bitch, and it's just a great movie. And everybody wants to, oh, we don't have powerful women in cinema. Well, here's one right here. Good example. Sigourney Weaver playing Ripley. And so I'll leave some for other folks to talk about it. Excellent movie. I love this movie. Can't get my kids to watch it.
Yeah, Cameron was great for putting women in power. Sarah Connor as well. Curtis, how about you?
yes, great movie. We were watching. Me and my family went to the drive-in theater. We had a big family, so it was the best way to go for us. And we were watching Ferris Bueller's. No, actually, the movie after that was Back to School. And I look over and I see the android guy get tore in half, and he's still alive, but I didn't know it was an android guy. because it was way over on another screen. And I was like, oh my God, look, he's still alive. And my parents saw it. That next weekend. We went and saw that movie, which was great. Yeah, Bill Paxton, who would know? He's like, he was in the second Alien movie, which is Aliens, right?
Yeah.
He also did Predator 2. He was all over the place there, man. Like, he's pretty, I guess, becoming a good actor, I guess. But
One of Cameron's favorite.
yeah, so
Yeah, he did quite a bit.
yeah.
Well, M3, what the fuck we gonna do now?
I know. This is a really good movie. My favorite part is when she gets into the robotic mech suit, the forklift suit, and ends up fighting the queen at the end. Really, really good movie. And everything you guys are going to say is just awesome. My dad really liked these movies. The trilogy is what they were until 4, 5, and 6 came out, 7, 8, 9, and shit. And honestly, they all blend in. But I was going to ask, was this one with Newt? And
Yes.
yeah, so perfect. And that was the scene where these what's his name gets ripped in half. I didn't know he was a cyborg either. I didn't connect with that, and so yeah, it was great. I was young, and it very impressed on me.
Well, that's just because you weren't paying attention earlier in the movie when he did the knife thing with the hand and he cut his finger and the blood was white.
That's right. I did totally blew my forgot about that part. He was going hella fast. Yeah.
Well, as far as Newt's concerned, get away from her, you bitch. Moto, how about you? What did you think of Alien?
Forgot about that part. He was going hella fast.
Moto, you're muted.
Moto?
Yeah, for some reason we still can't hear you.
I hear you.
We can't hear you.
There you go.
I can't hear him.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'll go while he's sorting that out. Yeah, for me, Bill Paxton was a highlight. Best joke in the entire movie
Check,
is
baby,
when Bill
check,
Paxton
baby, 1,
says
2.
to, oh, there he is. Now we can
There you
hear
are. We can hear you.
Am I good?
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that,
Let me
gentlemen.
finish up mine and then we'll hit you last. All right, Moto?
Sure.
So, yeah, my favorite joke in the movie is when Bill Paxton says to what's her name? Has anyone ever mistaken you for a man? And she says, no. Have you? Or have you ever been mistaken for a man? That's what it is.
Yeah.
Great line. I love the way she and the lieutenant redeems himself by sacrificing themselves in the air vents.
Yeah.
This little girl here has survived for 5 years by herself. Well, maybe we should put her in charge. Anyways, Moto, go ahead, man.
I was saying that this is one of my all-time favorite movies in any category to this day. I still love this movie. I've got so many copies of this movie, and the stupid thing is that if they came out with another special edition, I would get it just to have it. I absolutely love this movie. I love all the backstage and all the missed scenes. There's so much depth to this whole story. But as for the movie itself, we're talking U.S. Colonial Space Marines, baby. Locked and loaded, going in, charged. Ripley's having nightmares. She's found floating in space for 50 fucking years, y'all. The salvaging team thought they scored, man. Thought they scored themselves a nice ship. Said, son of a bitch, there's a human in here. Had to report it to the corporation. Every night she's having the same vivid dreams of that damn thing coming out of her chest, bro. So finally she says, Burke, tell me one thing. We're going there to eliminate them, not study them, right? He goes, that's the plan, yes. And that cut to the scene of the U.S. Space Colonial Marines, dude. Total badasses, smart asses. Everything you could think of. Vasquez is the one you're thinking of that comes in.
Yeah,
She wakes
Vasquez,
up,
there you go.
starts doing pull-ups and everything, and that's when he's questioned. They go in there, routine procedure, but then they notice where they're at, where they find all the colonists. They can't use weapons. They can't use weapon fire.
Yeah, what are we supposed to use? Harsh language?
Real fuck situation. You know? Exactly. So many great one-liners in that movie. So, aliens encounter, Marines attack, some survive, some don't. I don't want to spoil the movie for those who haven't seen it. but they get the fuck out of Dodge, bro. They get the fuck out of there. They make it to some kind of major bay. I forget the name of the bay where they made it to. They built that motherfucker shut it, and they got the tracker, and it's like, and fuck, dude, you're right outside the door, man. This don't make no sense.
Huh.
And then fucking dude from Terminator, Hicks or Hudson's the other dude. Hicks is the other guy that gets up like that, and he looks around. Hundreds of them are coming, bro. Needless to say, the story goes on like all classic movies. They all die one by one. When Bishop gets torn in half, epic scene. Well, I remember even laughing at my age when he was being blown down the airlock when she opened up the airlock to get rid of the queen. As he's going, oh, and he catches on, and he's able to save Newt at the same time. And then the best thing in cinematic to this day, and I swear they got to be true because I don't know how well CGI was. I don't know how well special effects was in 1986, y'all. But when she came out with those forklifts, that thing looked so damn real to me. It's like, okay, NASA's got some shit. We got something. We got to have something. But she blows her out the airlock just like she did the first Alien. And she goes into hyperspace. Same thing again. But this time the Hicks, he's wounded. You know, he's got that acid on him. But he's conscious. He's alive. Newt's little busted little heart. She goes night-night. And Bishop, she's able to save Bishop. She's got him hooked up to a bunch of cords and shit. That's all you see in the space sleep casket thing, if you will. But then we get to see her in her famous underwear shot that she likes to always do, as she slipped into her chamber, and they all go night-night.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Gonna have to nuke it from space. It's the only way to be sure.
Nuke it from
But,
orbit.
Aliens was picked by 5, and therefore it gets a rank of S. It's we're starting off with an S rank movie again. This is a good sign, fellas.
Nice. And before we move on, I want to touch on 2 things that nobody else touched on, if that's okay, Prophet.
Sure.
Stop touching me.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
It's because the freaks come out at night.
The freaks come out. Oh, you beat me to it.
And game over, man. Game over.
Yeah, and just so anyone in the chat who's seen the regular theatrical release, watch the extended cut because you get to see the colony before the aliens destroy it. You get to meet Newt's family and everything. Anyways, next movie on the list, Back to School, picked by Ed, Moto, myself, and Curtis. Ed, since you didn't get to say anything on the last one, why don't you start us off on Back to School?
I want to say 2 things first. First off, Aliens is a great classic. I was the one guy that didn't pick it because there are some other ones that had to make it, but it's still a great film. Secondly, I just want to say one last thing before I get into it. Prayers for the Holy Father, Pope Francis. He's in critical condition now, so hope he gets better. Speedy recovery. But we're talking about, what are we talking about? Back to school. That is me right now in college in my final semester. I feel like Rodney Dangerfield. I've been feeling this movie. This is one of the greatest comedies of all time. One of the greatest comedians to ever be in the medium of comedy. There's so many things that are so wonderful about this film. And correct me if I'm wrong, Robert Downey Jr. was in this as the friend. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's the roommate. He's the son.
Yeah. He's great in this. And I always forget the actor who played Rodney Dangerfield's son, Sally Kellerman. That's her, his poetry teacher. And when y'all remember that scene when he comes into her class first time he's attending it, Rodney Dangerfield, and she's reading the poem, Well, Should I Wear Red? You know, that poem, and she does it so seductively. And he's like, I'm there. And I'm probably going to ruin this for everybody. Sam Kinison gives one of his best performances in this film as well as the history teacher. And so everything about it is classic. Love this film.
Sorry.
Right. You can't have a bath without bubbles. What do you think, Frank?
Definitely got to have bubbles in a hot tub. But this movie is great. It's another one on my list. From beginning to end, total one-liners. This guy, piece of shit, fucking second wife. Just he thought maybe a trophy wife, but fucking they're having a party. She's doing a guy on the counter in the kitchen for heaven's sakes. He's trying to make a sandwich. He says, you know what? I'm gonna go see my boy Jason in college. I'm getting out of this shit. He's very well to do. He comes from the son of a shoemaker, but he worked his way up, selling big and tall clothing for men. So now he's got a little change in his pocket, but he's still a kid from Brooklyn, if you will. He used to do this trick over on Coney Island called the triple lending. Only guy that ever did it. So he goes to this college, hangs out with his kid. His kid says, I challenge you to go to college. He goes, all right, I'm going to do it too. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be the second melon to go to college. And now it's college in 1986, you all. So we got debauchery, we got partying, we got fighting, we got hilarity after hilarity, and we even get an Oingo Boingo cameo performance. Then little Junior gets a little pissy that Daddy is always paying his way, and he wants to do it on his own because, damn it, this is 1986, not 2026. So Rodney Dangerfield says, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Because he was filling everything. He was having everybody else do all his work for him. You know what I mean? He was just there partying it up. He was going to college to live the life of a kid, you know. Anyway, Sally Kellerman challenges him. Son challenges him. And he does everything in his power to pass. He does everything in his power to pass. He does this test because of shrewd old jealous kind of a friend, I guess, of Sally Kellerman, you will. Who teaches business but has no clue how business really fucking works, right? Number one. And so anyway, well, he's waiting for the results. That test kicked his ass. He's coming out to the damn pool to watch his son compete. Coach is saying, hey, we need you. Because Karate Kid, fucking bad kid, what's his name? Johnny?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I don't remember.
Yeah, John. You talking about the mean kid?
Karate Kid, Johnny, sweep the leg, Johnny. Who's Johnny?
Yeah, the blonde guy.
Zabka.
That's what
Is
she
his
said.
name Steve Zabka?
He was the bad guy in all those 80s movies.
Fuck yeah. Well, the same bad guy in all the 80s movies says, I can't do it. I can't perform. So the coach says, Thornton, Melon, we need you. So he comes out. He does the fucking triple landing, dude. Nails it. And wins the championship for everything, for the school. And it showed that
Spoiler alert for anyone who
through
hasn't seen it.
perseverance and education and studying hard and being a decent human being and never giving up on your dreams and never giving up on family and friends, that we all can come together and let bygones be bygones.
Very nice. Let's keep it to what we liked about the movie rather than describing the whole movie to the chat.
Yeah.
I was.
Digital, how about you?
Are we talking about ones we didn't pick?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Not digital. Curtis.
I give my time to M3.
All right. I'll go then. M3 didn't pick this, so M3 doesn't get to chime in.
My bad.
The thing that I think is rather significant about this movie is it's one of the rare times in Rodney Dangerfield's career that he didn't fall entirely on his self-deprecating humor. Because he was a very proud individual in this who didn't spend a whole lot of time ripping on himself. I love the way he earned Sam Kinnison's respect with his opinion on the war. Great stuff. This movie, like Ed said, is one of the funniest movies of all time. Fantastic film. And absolutely love it. But it was only picked by 4 of us. And therefore, it gets a rank of A. Not a bad start, though. A couple of nice high-ranking films to start off with. Before I move on, I'd like to address the chat a little bit here. We've got DFS is here. DFS, nice to see you, my friend. Frank Dumanu is here. Frank, thanks for stopping by. Roughshod, how are you, sir? Thank you for stopping in.
Roughshod.
Daniel Berry Sports is here.
Daniel Berry.
Thank you for stopping in, guys. Very nice to see you. Always a pleasure. And yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next film. Big Trouble in Little China. Picked by Ed, M3, Moto, myself, and Curtis.
Big trouble.
So, Curtis, do you want to start us off with Jack Burton and the Pork Chop Express?
Yeah. Me and my brothers love this movie. We recorded it, of course. We watched it almost every day for like a year or two. Another John Carpenter movie, great cast. It's got, like Chinese and Japanese lore like mixed together. It's weird, but it's cheesy. It's good. You got some special effect horror monsters in there, which is cool. You got all the three storm demons or whatever they're called, and it's just a great movie. I could talk about it all day, but there's a lot of people on here that want to say their thing, so I'm gonna let them go ahead and say it. I'm done.
Nice. I'm only going to say two quick things about the movie. 90% of this mythology in this film is Japanese, not Chinese. And Kim Cattrall has absolutely never looked better.
Right.
Ed, how about you?
I love this film. It's just Curtis said it best. He said it was cheesy fun, and it was. It was just I don't know how many times I've seen this film. Kurt Russell, he's always been a great actor. I've loved him in everything he's done. He's still a great actor. And Kim Cattrall, I forget that was Kim Cattrall, but yeah, she was awesome because she was also in Porky's, among other things, another 80s classic growing up.
And Mannequin.
Mannequin too.
You're right. Yes, a Mannequin. Yes. So the one thing I did not realize that John Carpenter directed this film. Interesting. But that's all I got to say about it. It's a great instant classic. You should check it out and watch it, everyone.
Yes.
Moto Viper, how about you?
I'm at a pass with this one because how do you describe a movie without describing a movie? It's
well, you don't describe it. Just tell us what you liked about it.
The fighting, the one-liners, the special effects, the Japanese lore, and the overall kicking ass and taking names. And have you paid your dues? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I got one
M3?
thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, you weren't done, Frank. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. That was Kurt.
That was
No, that
correct.
was me. I wanted to say something real quick. I just want to say it's all in the reflexes. But
It
go
is
ahead.
all the reflexes. M3, how are your reflexes?
Very good. I like Kim Cattrall. I did like her in Mannequin. And this movie, I like Kurt Russell's fucking bomb and everything. When I was a kid, when I saw this, I was really interesting. It was different, but it was along the line of like the Gremlins and stuff like that. Really good. The really good just special effects. I like when the guy was in the hallway, he blew up, right? He like got really fat and then went boom and blew up his head or face. I haven't seen this movie but one time, but I would watch it 100 times if it was the last movie on the planet. It's really good. I do suggest if anybody's never watched it, to check it out. It's great effects, just cool 1986 era perfection with Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall.
Fantastic.
Has anybody watched it high?
No, shit.
Has anyone
Has
watched
anybody
it
watched
sober?
it sober?
That's probably a better question.
Yeah.
So this is our second S-rank movie of the night.
Wow.
Very good shit. M3, just out of curiosity, would you mind giving the chat a little how's your father?
Yes. How's your mom doing? You don't want to make me angry. This movie is all about the reflexes. Rob78 says, oh, yeah, this is a crazy, funny action movie. DFS says, perfect bar movie. Hell yeah. Frank Dumont, you says, cheers. What up, Roughshod? And then Mark Cosplay is here as well. What up, Mark Cosplay? If you're still in chat, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming in.
Cosplay.
Awesome, my friends. All right, moving on. Next on the list, this one's all Moto. Cobra. Frank, why don't you tell us why Bridget Nielsen's never looked better than she does in this film?
Pre-cocaine, pre-divorce.
She looked good in Beverly Hills Cop too.
But Cobernetti here, Detective Cobernetti, he's one badass dude, and Stallone portrays him perfectly. Look at him take a sip of Coors before he handles these thugs. It's just typical fashion. The 32, I think it's a 32 Plymouth that he drives.
50 Merc.
50 Merc that he
Yeah.
drives. Like I said, 50 Merc. And the storyline of saving the damsel in distress with a little bit of humor is it makes for a good flick. And you know, it's Stallone and Schwarzenegger, they were battling out. So if Schwarzenegger killed 8 guys in a movie, Stallone was going to kill 10 in his next, you know? And it was that kind of thing. And you could see this trend happening. And we benefited from these kind of movies. And this is a great Stallone cop movie.
Indeed, it was, my friend.
Oh shit!
Yeah, this was the heart of 80s action. But sadly, there were a lot of good movies in 1986, so Frank was the only one to pick this, and therefore it gets a rank of D. Next on the list is Critters, and this is one that was only picked by Digital. So, Digital, why don't you tell us about Critters?
Okay. For anybody who's never seen this movie, you really, really need to watch it. It's a great piece of 80s cheese. It's presented like it's a horror movie, but it's really more funny than it is scary. I don't think I found anything scary about it, but I mean, it's just funny things. And you know, I get this one mixed up with the second one a lot because I used to watch them both at the same time, or not at the same time. You know, I used to watch them a lot when I was a kid. And you know, like the one where like all the critters make this one big ball and they're rolling down the street and just roll over people, and all that's left is a skeleton, and it's just I mean, just crazy goofy shit. And you know, it was one I watched a lot as a kid just because, you know, it was funny and goofy and was trying to be scary, and that just made it funnier.
Very nice. Yeah, I thought it was a little bit strange that the aliens wanted to be incognito, so they took the form of a famous rock star.
Yeah.
But yeah, good movie. But again, sadly, only one person had room on their list for it, and therefore it gets a rank of D. Moving on, we've got Down and Out in Beverly Hills, picked by Curtis and no one else. Curtis, why don't you tell us why you so much love this bum having sex with Richard Dreyfuss's entire family? Curtis?
I heard him say, "Oh shit," and something dropped. He might be muted.
Yeah.
Looks like maybe muted.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and talk about it since Curtis is seemingly unavailable. Yeah, this was pretty good movie. Bob, there he is. Thank God.
I'm sorry, I had to run upstairs. What are we doing?
It's Down and Out in Beverly Hills. You're the only one that picked it.
Oh man, this is another cheesy movie that me and my brothers watched when it came out. Great cast. You know, I Nick Nolte plays a bum, and these rich Beverly Hills people take him in, and he ends up banging the wife and the daughter. It's crazy. There's a Richard Dreyfuss is the guy who takes him in, and I'm forgetting the wife's name. What was her name?
Bette Midler.
Bette Midler. Yeah. So they're rich and they take him in. First, everybody hates Nick Nolte, and then it reverses. Everybody likes Nick Nolte. and then the husband don't. Richard Dreyfuss. A lot of stuff just happened. There's a lot of wacky stuff. You got to watch it. That's all I'm going to say is you got to watch it. I don't want to ruin it. So if you haven't seen it, anybody else got anything to say about it? Anybody?
Well, you were the only one that picked it, so
Okay.
not that makes it a bad film. It's just we didn't all have room on our lists.
Right.
But yeah, Richard Dreyfuss, very underrated actor, and unfortunately fell out with Hollywood, and we barely seen him in anything since.
Yeah.
But because Curtis is the only one that picked it, it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, picked by literally every single panelist. This movie, I'm going to go ahead and start on this one. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is arguably one of the best teenage movies ever made.
Yeah.
If you were watching this movie as a young man and in that time at that age, you wanted to be Ferris Bueller. His sister, Jennifer, I can't remember her last name. Jennifer Grey, very attractive. It's hard to believe that a girl that cute could make me hate her, but she did a great job doing it. Cameron, I think most of us wanted to be Ferris, but could more relate with Cameron. Although I don't think all of our parents had a Ferrari. Problematic actor playing the principal, but we didn't know that at the time, and we can't destroy. Oh, and incidentally, something maybe people didn't know about the film: the actors that played Ferris's parents actually started dating on this film and then got married. So they were a couple in real life. But yes, if anyone asked me what I was going to be in my future at this point, I would tell them I was going to be a fry cook on Venus. Digital, what do you have to say about Ferris Bueller?
I mean, it's a great movie when it came out, and Curtis is on the wrong channel. He left and hit the wrong link. I think hit the link in the private chat there, Curtis. I don't know how I ended up still over in there in that one. But I guess it was a good thing. But Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like you said, it's the quintessential teen movie, and I mean, just our first experience with, I can't remember the guy who was the teacher, and he was like Bueller.
Ben Stein.
Ben Stein.
Oh.
And then like when he's calling the people at the school and like telling them he's sick, and he's playing on his keyboard all the fart and shit and diarrhea sound stuff. It's a hilarious movie. And so I'll let somebody else talk now.
All right, Ed, why don't you tell us how you expect us to believe that you're Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago?
I don't know that I can convince you of that, but I was more Cameron. I was very, very, very nerdy and bad. I do have an interesting fact that ties two movies together that are instant classics: Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Back to School. If you remember, they both featured the Rodney Dangerfield's character and then Ferris Bueller singing "Twist and Shout" by the Beatles. And the famous scene from that is in the parade where Ferris Bueller's taking a day off and he has the parade. This movie is so classic. Oh my gosh, who hasn't grown up quoting this film to this day? And whenever I see Matthew Broderick, he's Ferris Bueller. No matter what he does, he's Ferris Bueller, and he'll always be. This is a perfectly fantastic film. One of the parts where they wreck the classic car there that's in that glass house. Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. There's so much about this, but I'll leave more for other people, but a great film if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, incidentally, that car that got wrecked, the house with the glass garage, I dated a girl that lived next door to her. That house is in Aurora, Illinois.
Oh, sweet.
Let's see if Frank picks up on the joke. Do you speak English?
That's funny.
You're supposed to say,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
country do you think this is, man?
Fine. This movie is my number 2 of all time. It inspired me so much. Trouble thing is I wasn't a Cameron. I was definitely a Ferris Bueller, and I ditched a lot. And I didn't do all the antics that he did in Chicago, but I'm starting to feel this Chicago vibe of 1986 here going on. What's going on in 1986? You were like in Chicago, John Hughes films.
Yeah.
You got the Bears, and I know we discussed Chicago earlier. But anyway, back to this movie here. This movie here, all the shit we all went through. If you were 16, 15, hell, if you're in high school, if you're anywhere under around the class of 85 to 90, you could relate to this character. You could relate to all characters in this movie. And the man was absolutely right when he said life is too short. If you don't stop and take a look around, you're going to miss it. And I still live by that lifestyle. And just one of those things that hit home with me, and a lot of his antics, and kind of feel like they stole some of the shit that I used to do as a kid to get away with stuff. But it's a great movie against it's a movie against parents, against establishment, against the principal. I'll never forget the time where you're laughing. Me and my buddies were laughing, crying so hard when she jumps around the corner, principal jumps around the corner, and she kicked him 3 times right in the face, quick as shit. The first time I ever saw that, I laughed my ass off so hard. I had a gut ache. I mean, great. Oh, and when he sticks his head through the doggy door and sees the little puppy, that is gorgeous. That's a great part. Yeah. And I'll leave the rest for everybody else.
Right. So M3, you seem like the type of guy who would pretend that he's drowning to get Sloan to give him mouth to mouth. So let me ask you a question. Would you like some gummy bears? They've been in my pocket, so they're nice and warm.
Oh, yes. That's when Ed Rooney's on the bus and has to sit down next to that Dorkin on the bus. And that's great, dude. But I was going to start out with, I recall Central Park in fall, how you tore your dress.
What a mess.
I confess. Dude, I love this movie from start to finish. I've probably seen it about 10 times. Like, I think I watched it last year just to do it, but I really do like the cast of this was absolutely perfect. And Ferris Bueller, like I think Ed said, he will always be Ferris Bueller to me. He will never be Matthew Broderick. He will never be the guy in the Christmas movie with Danny DeVito. You know, it's hard to take him out of that. He did so dang well. And like Prophet said, I also, like, when I saw this, I was 10 and I was like, that's what high school's like? Holy crap. You know, I loved it. Yeah. It was great. Good movie. Probably one of my favorite scenes is the whole thing. There's not really one favorite scene. They tied it all into one favorite movie. It's really good. That's all.
Yeah, watching the parking attendants fly over the hill with their facial expressions to Star Wars music was amazing. I fucking loved it. But this movie was the only movie on our entire 86 list that was picked by every single person.
Do I get a turn?
So oh yeah, I'm sorry, Curtis. I thought you went. Go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah, my favorite scenes were already mentioned. My favorite scenes was the Beatles song in Chicago, the kick to the I still laugh just thinking about it. The kick to the principal's face.
You know? Oh my God.
Funny. It was hilarious.
We were crying.
Yeah. There was like multiple kicks.
It was like he was like,
oh my God, we were crying. That was great. Thank you, Curtis.
Yes. And the gummy bears. Would you like a gummy bear? And he flicks it.
Oh man.
Yeah, that and the part where Ferris is running home to beat his parents. And he's running through all them backyards and jumping, and he stops because there's like 2 ladies like sunbathing. He's like, "Hey, ladies." Great movie. It's just a great classic movie.
It really is.
Yeah. Talk about a babysitter for kids at that time. Just throw on Ferris Bueller. Kids were glued to that thing. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
All right. Well, unlike the Ferris Bueller movie, we're not done, so don't go home. But yeah, it gets rank S, and if there was an SS, it would be there instead, but there isn't, so it gets S rank. Next on the list, this is a movie picked just by M3, Flight of the Navigator. So M3, why don't you tell us why you approve of aliens abducting children?
Because it's Pee Wee Herman, bro. Pee Wee Herman comes down in his fucking machine. No, I'm just playing. But the whole thing from start to finish as well. Starts out with the kid. He's just doing his thing and goes on to go get his little brother, and he gets abducted. Doesn't realize it. Has to go through trying to figure out where the fuck he is, because he gets set, I think, 10 or 12 years in the future. That whole thing goes all the way through. A Twisted Sister plays a video in this thing. And in the end, he gets to go home peacefully. But I've watched this movie a lot when I was a kid, when I was a kid, maybe once. But then as an adult, I watch it. I go back to it. Seen it recently. Favorite part is when the UFO ship turns into his Type 3 fucking UFO ship, and it morphs with this beautiful chrome, turns and just goes bah, and fucking hits hypersonic speed and is gone. I think that was really fucking cool. And the melting stairs that comes out of it. I mean, the CGI in this, I don't know if you could call it CGI back in '86 or what they called it, but it was really good. I don't really want to say that I would suggest it to anybody, because it is pretty good, though. It's got your little animatronic little monsters in it, and it's got just a kid just wants to go home to his family when he was. So that was like kind of heart pulling there. But in the end, he does good and gets to keep one of the little monster creatures. Very, very cool movie. And Paul Rubin is the voice of the ship. The kid is the navigator. And I don't think this kid's ever been in anything else. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, but I couldn't tell you his name or anything like that. But a great movie to watch, indeed. NASA's in it. There are a couple. That dude's in it. Like I don't know the guy's name. I'm bad at
that dude.
That guy right there. Oh yeah, that guy right there too. But no, I know
dude.
It's a good movie. And that girl, what's her name? Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Sarah Jessica Parker. She's cool in this. She helps him out and stuff like that.
Married to Ferris Bueller.
Yes,
that's great. I think I had this movie on as my number. Sorry if I'm getting too close to the.
look, it's Bullwinkle's car.
Yeah, it's my number two pick for top 10. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah. Great movie. But unfortunately, you're the only one that had room on his list for it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore it gets a rank of D.
Decent.
Keep in mind, folks, D rank movies, they're not bad movies. In most cases, there are a couple that I think are bad, but whatever.
A profit director.
It's all
But
subjective.
yeah, they're not bad movies. It's just these are our top 10s, and the only way it gets a rank of S is if 5 or more of us pick it. So
A
just
profit
because
director.
something's a rank of D, don't go thinking it's a bad film.
Hey,
Frank, what did you have to say?
That was Curtis again.
Oh, Curtis, what did you have to say?
Could you move your head? You're kind of blocking some of the D rankings.
Down in front.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to get used to that because your head's gonna be blocking shit too, man. Anyways, M3, do you want to address the chat before we move on?
Yes, absolutely. What's up, chat? We got Ed Geek Homeworld in here. He said, no SS. You don't want to make me angry. He says, good luck finding the soundtrack for cheap. And also Yellow, oh yeah, the jam. I'm not sure what movie he must have been, like maybe a movie back.
Yeah, I think that was Ferris Bueller.
It was.
Yeah, okay. And then I think we're on some older Queen Bee's here. What's up? She says, hello, loves. Queen Bee is very young. She's only 28 years old, so I don't think she's seen any of these movies. Queen Bee, just real quick, have you ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? And then I'm done, Prophet.
All right. Yeah, so moving on, next film on the list, Heartbreak Ridge, picked by Digital and Curtis. Digital, why don't you lead us off on this one?
Okay, this is one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies. I know most people probably think about, some of the Westerns he's done, and there's no doubt that he's done a lot of them and was good in them. But this one, I mean, he comes in here tough as nails, the most badass gunny in the Marines, and people just don't like him because he's so Marine.
He's old school.
And so they put him in charge of this group of going nowhere Marines, like Sonny Spoons there. I can't never remember his name. I always remember he was on that show, Sonny Spoons. And just tons and tons of one-liners that are just great. Like during a training exercise, his troops walking out, and all of a sudden he's shooting at them with live ammunition. He was like, "That's the sound of the AK-47, the preferred weapon of your enemy. Know that sound." And like here, the Swede, they thought this guy was going to come out and just make short work of him in this scene, and then he was like, "I'll report to the stockade, sir." "No, you won't. You'll fall in line." And he turned these guys into Marines, and it's just a great movie. And
Curtis?
you can take it from there, Curtis.
Yeah, this movie, I used to watch it over and over again back in the 80s. It's one of my favorite ones, that and Full Metal Jacket at the time. But this is, this was a low budget movie, and they really did well with it. It was a great story. I think that was the first time I saw Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah, that's his name. I can't ever remember that.
And I didn't. That show you were talking about, I didn't know. I've never heard of that show.
Yeah, it was like one of those early Fox shows.
Okay. But yeah, he's him and Clint Eastwood didn't get too they're kind of button heads at first, but yeah, there goes Clint Eastwood shooting everybody up and shit. He would go outrun all these guys that are in shape, and he'd outrun them and then come back around and come up behind them and grab a rifle out of the sand and just start shooting behind them and shit. It's crazy. You guys got to see it if you haven't seen it. It's a great movie.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, yeah, and picked by Curtis and Digital. So, and I'm sure Curtis didn't just pick this because of Flat Top Envy, but it gets a rank of C.
Matter of fact, I
next
got
film on the list, The Highlander, picked by Digital and myself. Digital.
Well, I went first last time.
Twice in a row, man.
I went first last time. You go ahead, Prophet.
Well, who wants to live forever?
Yeah.
This movie, the Queen soundtrack on this film is amazing.
Yes.
Let's not forget, this is Hulk Hogan's first movie appearance. He plays Thunder. No, not his first movie appearance. That was in Rocky 3. But he's also in this, the first opening fight scene. The first time we see one of the Immortals lose their heads is in the parking garage while Hulk Hogan's winning in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Connery playing a Spaniard with a Scottish accent is a little weird, but other than that, this movie's fantastic. I think my favorite line in the entire film is when he's in the police station and the cop says, "Are you a fag?" And he says, "Why? Are you cruising for a piece of ass?" Like, what a perfect comeback. The Kurgan. Oh my God, bro. What an incredible villain. Clancy Brown, like, absolutely kills it as the Kurgan in here. And it's not every movie where the villain outshines the hero, and I still think it's a great movie. But man, Clancy Brown as the Kurgan, brother. Jesus Christ, he's good. But yeah, this movie is phenomenal. It spawned a bunch of like terrible sequels and a horrible TV show. But the original movie itself is an absolute masterpiece. Digital, you go ahead.
You touched on just about everything there, Prophet. And like the Queen soundtrack, even though it's not officially the soundtrack, it was their It's a Kind of Magic album. But like all the songs that they do in here are on that album, except for when the Kurgan's driving across the bridge or whatever, and it's there. It's New York, New York, and that one's not in it. But Clancy Brown in this is one of the movies. This is the first movie I ever remember seeing him in. It might not be the first movie he was ever in, but I learned that his voice, his face from this movie, and every time I would see him, oh shit, it's the Kurgan, but he was totally badass, and McLeod was smart ass, and just a great movie. The lore of this movie was perfect. Everybody wanted a sequel. It didn't need a sequel, and then we got a sequel, and it was just it blew all of that lore established in the first movie out of the water, because all of a sudden they're aliens from another planet, and then like the rest of the sequels and the series, and then like those two last movies that were after the series with his cousin Duncan, just they needed to stop with this one. But I'm kind of looking forward. I want to see what they're going to do in the reboot of it with allegedly Henry Cavill playing Connor McLeod.
Right.
So I hope that comes
see.
to fruition.
And incidentally, one of those sequels had Mario Van Peebles in it.
Damn sure did.
It did.
The third one.
Well, one of my friends, he's apparently watching, but not commenting in the chats. He said that Clancy Brown did not take any pay for this film. He just took it for reputation.
Wow. Well, he got a damn good reputation in it.
Absolutely. But this movie was only picked by two people, because only two of us clearly have amazing taste.
Oh, I could have.
So it gets the rank of
C.
I've got something to say. It's better to burn out.
It's a great
fade
movie.
Away.
It's a great movie. It's a classic. It's one of my favorite movies. Top 30.
No, I'm just teasing. I know it's a tough year. There were a lot of good movies.
Oh yeah, I know. I was just explaining to the chat. Like my opinion. It was just hard. It's so hard to pick. There's a lot of great movies out. It was just hard.
Well, let's see if you were on the next one. Nope. This one is Jesus Christ.
You should be ashamed.
All right, M3,
of yourself.
go ahead and explain to us how duck titties alone put a movie on your top 10 list.
Hey man, I'm 10 years old, man. We got furry titties. We
Bring
got
it on,
regular
bro.
titties. If I could see any titties at 10 years old, Beverly D'Angelo and fucking National Lampoon's Vacation and shit, man. Anyway, this movie here, great movie. Great. I know that it was a midget or a dwarf, and I don't know who played Howard the Duck, but really fucking cool. I know Prophet hates this movie because of Edward Rooney, the principal.
No, that's not why.
But I think it's just really fun. It's a fun movie. There's if everything came into mind, I got to say that I'm going to call him Ed Rooney because I forget his name in the movie here. But he was not a bad guy. He was just literally trying to get back home, and he was just doing what he could do. So he was using all available assets to do that. And Howard the Duck came flying from it. The beam got shot and pulled him, the tractor beam. And the girl that's in that's the best scene in the whole movie right there, is when she's like finds the little duck condom and shit. And she's like, Howard. It just really connected with me. I think it's a really good movie. And he ends up just being a cool dude, man. Shout out for little duck condoms, dude. I love it. He sees Play Duck, dude, on his planet. It's great, man. It's great. I don't know why anybody does. I'm not saying anybody doesn't like it, but Prophet, I don't know why you hate it so much, man.
Because it's fundamentally terrible.
Bad.
How did this film not win the Oscar for Best Picture, right?
I think anyone who needs to ask that question needs their film credentials taken away.
And
anyways,
didn't
I think
Ron
this
Howard
movie should be ranked Z, but because M3 picked it, it's ranked D.
Sweet.
Anyways, moving on. Oh God, M3. It is what it is. Next on the list is Iron Eagle. picked by Digital and M3. Digital M3 just went first, so why don't you go first on this one?
Okay, I mean, this is the first movie I ever remember seeing with Louis Gossett Jr. in it. And, you know, it seems like after this movie, he was just in a shit ton of stuff. And, you know, I had room for one airplane movie on my list. It was this or Top Gun. And when I was a kid, I enjoyed this movie much more than Top Gun. Is Top Gun a better movie than this? Probably it is. But, you know, this one just, it was an exciting movie for a kid, and I really enjoyed it. You know, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but, you know, I just used to watch the shit out of it as a kid. So M3, you can take it from there. No, who was it? M3?
Yeah, M3
Okay.
is the next.
My name is M3. How you guys doing?
I'm just sitting here watching you guys, touching myself. No, but this is a really good movie. My dad, again, brought this home. My dad brought home all the movies that we saw on the VHS. You know, he rented the big ass VCR, which was like 2 feet by 2 feet and shit, right?
Top loader.
Yeah, and it came in a suitcase, and he brought it home, opened it up, and plugged the coaxial cable in the rear, and we watched a movie that night. You know, and the movies that he picked, like this one, he was a big Louis Gossett Jr. fan, and with this one right here, I mean, it's classic from the beginning. It's this group of kids. They've got their little. They're army brats is what they are, Air Force brats, you know, which is cool. All the airplane scenes, and they're going after. In our time, was that we were at war with the Iraqis, right before some of the big wars, and
No, it was the Cold War. It was Russia.
what?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. You can easily correct me on that. Yeah, perfect. And they were blowing up like oil fields and stuff, and it kind of gave you what it felt like to be in the cockpit of a plane like that. The F-14, I want to say, might be a F-16, but I'm pretty sure it's a 14. It's a great movie. If anybody hasn't watched it by now, there's really no spoilers. It kind of is a classic to any, you know, of that type movie, and the cast is really cool, really cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's no
I
hard to
believe
duck,
it was
though.
F-18s versus MiGs.
Mix, yes. It's good, Prophet. Oh, Prophet, may I say hi to a couple people in chat?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Merman's here. Well, hey everybody, did I hear another merman in here? I'm Merman. Zeta TF, good to see you, bro. What's up, Zeta? And Brian King, wanna be Top Gun. He said, I could agree with that, but I'm pretty sure it came out first, so that would make Top Gun the wannabe Iron Eagle. Brian King, shout out.
I'm gonna go ahead and disagree with that. I like Iron Eagle's good, but you know, teenagers in the military, it's kind of like this is what would happen if Flight of the Navigator and Top Gun had a baby.
Oh yes, nice. No,
Well,
not even close, Prophet.
But,
Iron
Iron
Eagle is a
people
man's movie.
voted for this, and therefore it gets a rank of C.
Top Gun's a romance movie. Iron Eagle's a man's movie.
All right. Well, you didn't pick this.
I would
You
have.
did pick Top Gun, so clearly you like romance, right?
Yes. I'd love romance.
Anyways, next on the list, this one's all you, Ed. A little bit of Jumpin' Jack Flash. Why don't you tell us why you love The View so much?
I'm sorry.
I can't believe you, Digital.
This is a great movie.
What did I do? I didn't do anything.
Let Ed tell us about Jumpin' Jack Flash. Go ahead, brother.
This is a fun movie. When I was a kid, this was a fun movie. This is before The View, before the dark times, before The View. When Whoopi Goldberg was funny and made really good films like Color Purple and other things like that. This is just a fun story of she was kind of a misfit in the film, and I think she discovered a program and she got pulled into like this international secret agent thing, which was Jumpin' Jack Flash. And of course, I'm a big Rolling Stones fan, so just the title of that and the song that kept playing in the film, you know, drew me in initially. But it's just a fun '80s film. It's self-contained. It's not an over-the-top great film, but it's just a fun film to watch. And I suggest if you hadn't, check it out. I know you won't, but check it out. It's a fun film.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not a terrible film.
Right.
But yeah, it is absolute proof that Whoopi Goldberg never had eyebrows. But Ed's the only one that picked it, and therefore it gets a rank of D. Next film on the list, Labyrinth, picked by myself and Digital. Shockingly. Digital, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first because I don't have a lot to say about it, but you know it's really one of those quintessential. This is what Jim Henson. This is the kind of stuff he really wanted to do. You know, Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and you know it shows in what they did with the stories and stuff, and then you know David Bowie is just like the cherry on top of all of it, and of course Jennifer Connelly is you know to this day she's still quite a nice looking lady, and but you know I mean it does have some of that goofiness in it that Henson's stuff is known for, but you know it was a little more serious, a little more dark than his usual fare, and it's just an excellent movie, and you know great lore in it, and just the shots are good, the puppetry is good, pretty much what you would expect from a Henson.
The puppets are awesome.
So I'll leave the rest of you, Prophet.
Well, I think we'll start with David Bowie's codpiece. That stuck out like a sore thumb in the film, and you know, anyone who doesn't like it, I'll make them a prince of the land of stench. No, but yes, Jennifer Connelly, I had a massive crush on her at this time. You know, the music was fantastic in the film. It's just, you know, one of my favorite bits in the entire film is when the worm on the wall tells her never go that way, and then she walks away in the other direction, and the worm says, "Oh, if she'd have kept going that way, it took her straight to that castle." Like it's like, "Oh, you asshole worm! I hope you get squashed." But yeah, Ludo, a fantastic character, could call big boulders. I love that the gates formed a giant that they had to fight. The goblins were fantastic. Yeah, just this movie is spectacular. Jim Henson's best work, in my opinion. I do like it better than The Dark Crystal. Some people would disagree. But yeah, man, I can't believe Digital and I are the only ones that picked it. But you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And because only two of us picked it, it gets a rank of C. M3, do you want to catch us up on chat before we move on?
Oh, yes, of course. I see that Ace's Place came in and said Doe and 3 TKD bar, a stray profit. Brian King says she's the only reason to watch this movie back then. Jennifer Connelly he's referring to. And going back up, and DFS says this is the best movie ever made, he said. Wow. Nice. I hope he's talking about Labyrinth. DFS Labyrinth is the best movie ever made. Mm-hmm.
And Too Many Figures says Bowie's Marble Sack gets it an A.
What up, Too Many? That's great.
Anyways, moving on. The next film on the list, Little Shop of Horrors, picked by just me. Nobody else liked Little Shop of Horrors, but I love it. I think it's an amazing film. Rick Moranis is far superior to Martin Short. I don't care what anyone says. I thought the actress playing Audrey, there she is. What a knockout in a very unconventional way. But something about her and the gangly long legs and the lisp like just had me going. I liked it. But it was a musical. Yes, it had like a lot of SNL cast in it. The whole bit with Steve Martin as the sadistic dentist getting his meeting his match in the masochistic Bill Murray was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, this movie, I don't understand why it doesn't get more love. I think it's amazing. I know M3 doesn't like sing-alongs, and that's what he considers it, but I personally love it. I don't mind a musical. I love a good musical. But oh god, Bill Murray was so funny in this film. And Steve Martin with the black hair trying to act cool, like it's just so out of character. I love it. But the plant, man, the animatronics on Audrey 2, phenomenal. Like this thing, like if they made a 1/12 scale Audrey 2, I would buy it, and I would hope that the mouth was articulated. Incidentally, this movie has an alternate ending where Audrey grows to kaiju size and attacks New York, but that was not in the theatrical release. But yeah, I'm really, really shocked that this movie did not get more love from the panel.
Oh, I forgot John Candy was.
But you know, it is what it is, and I love it. But since I'm the only one that loves it, it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, Maximum Overdrive. Great movie, but only Curtis had room for it on his list. Curtis, why don't you tell us why Stephen King's getting killed by trucks is something you love?
Great movie. It's about a comet that comes over and I guess somehow gets the machines to come to life and stuff. So, and it starts off, gets you right off the beginning. It's got Stephen King going to the ATM machine and he's like punching in, and the ATM machine is saying something like "fuck you" or something like that shit. And he's like,
No, he says, "Honey, this machine just called me an asshole."
"Oh, that's what it is. It's an asshole." Yeah, yes. That shit was so funny. It catches you right into it. And then you got Emilio Estevez. You got some hot chick. I don't remember her name. I think that's the only movie I've ever seen her in. But basically, this group of people at a gas station get cornered in by a bunch of semi trucks and stuff, and they got to go through and fill up these trucks with gas, or these trucks start killing them. Like it's a crazy setup. It's good, very good. Kind of on the horror side, I guess, or more sci-fi, I guess. But you got the leader truck, which is a big old black truck with a Joker or a
Green Goblin.
Looks like Green Goblin,
Yeah.
On the front of it, so badass. And and when all the machines come to life at the beginning, sorry, I'm going backwards, but there's like a park full of kids with baseball and all that stuff, dude. All these like heavy equipment, like for construction, start running these kids over and shit. And this one guy gets killed by a pop machine shooting cans at him in his head. It's crazy, but it's a great movie. Really fun movie. If you haven't seen it, I suggest you see it. I don't see how you haven't seen this, so that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, incidentally, don't forget the AC/DC soundtrack for this movie is amazing.
The soundtrack was great.
But personally, I think the only reason that Curtis loved this movie is because the voice of Lisa Simpson yells his name like 50 times.
Yes.
There it is!
Yes.
But Curtis is the only one that picked it, so it gets a rank of D.
That little hot body of hers.
Stop right now.
Next on the list, we've got Platoon, picked by Ed, Moto, and myself. Ed, you haven't got to say anything in a while. Why don't you start us off with Platoon?
This was the Best Picture Oscar for 1986, and I don't always agree with the Best Picture picks, but I think they nailed it for 1986. What a powerful film this is. This was back when Charlie Sheen was still normal, before the Tiger's blood he got. Directed by one of our greatest directors, Oliver Stone. And it is just a powerful, gripping, riveting film about war and all that comes with it. And other people can probably explain it better than I can, but it was just a very powerful film. And I remember watching it and just, being kind of blown away by it. But it's definitely a great film, a classic.
Moto Viper, how about you?
Oh, this movie stands out as the best Vietnam movie ever for me personally, in my opinion. What it really comes down to for me is showing brotherhood, um, knowing life is short. You're learning a lot of shit as a very young man, but at the same time, as they're fighting the gooks, they're also fighting themselves, man. Then you got companies against each other in this platoon, and that makes it tough. But it's one rich kid's diary, if you will. We dive a little bit into his diary of his Vietnam experience. He didn't get drafted. He dropped out of college and wanted to go to this, wanted to do this for America, and wanted to be part of it. But the shit that he saw over there was just so ugly, so nasty. Just so many things are fucked up in this movie that it ends with him doing his job, but knowing he's going home to get the fuck away from this hell. And I'll leave it at that. So, because I want other viewers, especially the younger generation, to really check this movie out. It's really good.
Yeah, it's 100% worth a view. This movie is a very poignant film. It had an amazing cast in it. I mean, on top of the main three, Tom Berenger, William Dafoe, and Charlie Sheen, I mean, it had Keith David and John C. Reilly and Cuba Gooding Jr. Like, what an amazing cast. But my favorite bit about this whole movie, like Moto said, they're not just fighting the Vietnamese, they're also fighting themselves. And one of the best things about it is that in the end that the bad guy of their platoon isn't getting away with it because of the final scene with Elias. And incidentally, Elias, played by William Dafoe. This is the movie that introduced me to William Dafoe. And William Dafoe has been one of the best actors in my mind ever since this film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. I'm a very strong on the bad guys getting their comeuppance in films. And like Moto, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I will say, if you want to see the utter villain, knowing he's about to be court-martialed, watch this film. It's a masterpiece, and it definitely deserved its Best Picture Oscar.
Right. Absolutely. I'm going to agree with Ed, too, that Oliver Stone did a tremendous job with this movie.
Absolutely. But only 3 of us picked it, and it is our first B-ranked film of the night. Next on the list, Raw Deal. This one is all you, Moto.
Oh, wow.
Go right ahead.
That's surprising. This is
Moto, you got to do it in Arnold's voice. You got to do it in Arnold's voice.
The whole movie, you want me to do all this now? Last minute, you want me to have to do it? No, it's not going to happen. Go fuck yourself. But that's just an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I'm Moto Viper. Anything Schwarzenegger, I loved it. This time, he's former FBI. He can get a shot back in the FBI by doing a job for one of his longtime friends, Harry. Mafia movie. Mafia takes out the narc, the snitch, and then when he takes out all the snitches, he also takes out the security detail. One of the security detail was Arnold's friend Harry. His son. So don't want to make it too long, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is recruited by Harry to go infiltrate the mafia, get into the mafia, get in good with these motherfuckers, and then let's take them out. And I'm going to leave it at that because, again, if you haven't seen it, I want you to see it. It's really good, and it's got a classic Arnold one-liners.
Nice. Indeed. Yeah, a great movie, but again, 86 was a tough one, and therefore only Moto had room on his list, and it gets a rank of D. Next on the list,
and it's blocked by Curtis's head. You blockhead.
This one, unfortunately, only Curtis had room for it. I would have liked to pick it, but didn't have room. Curtis, why don't you tell us why you don't mind being kidnapped by Kmart?
Because it's all about ruthlessness
Mhm.
and taking over and having as much money as you can and doing what you want. No. It's a great, funny, classic movie. And Bette Midler and Danny DeVito and Danny DeVito tries to hire somebody to kill his wife off, I guess, right? And then it's just a hilarious movie. Just things go wrong and things. It's a funny movie, and because it's a comedy funny movie, I don't want to give away the funny parts because you got to see it if you haven't seen it. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Well, I'll do one correction on it. He didn't hire someone to kill her. She got kidnapped and he refused to pay the ransom.
Oh,
Hoping
that's
they'd
what.
kill her.
Yeah, my bad. My bad. That's exactly what it was. It was a ransom.
Yeah,
He didn't want to do it.
it's a great movie, folks. Definitely go check it out. Like I said, this was my number 11. Would have made my list, but just didn't have room. But yeah, Curtis could have said a lot more about it.
Yes.
But go check it out, people. It's definitely worth a watch, and I would say it's one of Danny DeVito's best performances.
Yes, I agree. I forgot to say that part.
All right. Well, but because Curtis was the only one with room for it, it gets a rank of D.
Down in
Next on
front,
the list,
Curtis.
Short
Yes,
Circuit
boo in front.
was
Sorry.
picked by Digital and Ed.
Nice.
Digital, why don't you start us off on Short Circuit?
Okay, military robots, and one gets struck by lightning and gets a personality, and wow, what a great and funny personality, and just like a little kid, and he's learning things, and Steve Gutenberg at really at the height of his career, and a little bit the Indian guy who wasn't really an Indian guy, which that wasn't an uncommon thing back in the 80s, where they hired actors not of a specific ethnicity to play a specific ethnicity and to play it
What was he, Mexican?
No, he was Indian. Oh, are you talking about the actual actor? I don't
Yeah.
know what he was. He wasn't Indian. I remember reading an
I thought he was
article
Indian. Anyway, I
about
digress.
him that he was ashamed of having played this part the way he did, because and again, I don't really blame him, because a lot of ethnicities were played very stereotypical in the 80s, but
Yeah, I mean, Ben
Johnny
Kingsley
Five
played
Alive,
Gandhi.
and I'll let you have it from there, Ed.
Yeah, and I don't know the actor's name. I don't have time to look it up, but he was, for me, some of the best parts of the film. Obviously, the robot. I forgot what his name was. He was struck by lightning.
Johnny
Elon
Five.
was his name. Yeah, number 5 alive, and he had that saying that he said. But it was a fun 80s movie. It was in that whole genre of fun where, even the worst stakes of the movie still weren't earth shattering, but you just took it for what it was. And Ali Sheedy, I think, is the actress in there. She was part of the Brat Pack, I think.
Yes.
She was so cute back then, and it was just, she made it fun, the juxtaposition to his character, and everything about it. It was just a fun 80s movie. If you just want to movie, you can kind of turn your brain off a little bit and just have fun. Short circuits the film for you.
It explains the 80s.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, it was Fisher Stevens who enjoyed repeatedly throwing you to the ground.
Yeah.
But only 2 people picked it, and therefore it gets a rank of C.
For Curtis.
Next
Curtis
on the list, Stand By Me.
Yeah.
Based on Stephen King's The Body. Very loosely, mind you, because that's a very short story, and this movie was turned into a masterpiece.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised only 4 picked it. I thought this movie would get S rank. unfortunately, that poor kid is always going to be known as the fat kid from Stand By Me. He's probably never going to get known for anything else. Although he did get his penis bitten off in the remake of Piranha 3D. River Phoenix, amazing in this movie. Ironic that it kind of predicted his future because he died very, very young. Kiefer Sutherland, amazing villain in this film. And, we're talking like street level villain. We're not talking like, super villain or military villain or anything like that. Just like great portrayal of a bully. Because, he only picked on the younger kids, and that's what bullies do. Bullies don't pick fair fights. Bullies only pick fights they think they can win. And that was Kiefer Sutherland's role in this film. This movie, absolutely amazing story of four young friends who will absolutely never forget each other. And this was long before Will Wheaton got on any starships.
Yeah.
And it was long before Corey Feldman got in Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. But this movie is an absolute masterpiece. And Ed, why don't you tell us what you thought of it?
Stand By Me is an instant classic. My God, just looking at all the people that are in this film, Jerry Conley, Will Wheaton, this is pre-Star Trek Next Generation, Will. A great cast. River Phoenix, he was outstanding in this film. Is a great ensemble cast. It's a coming-of-age story, a story of brotherhood we don't see enough of. Unfortunately doesn't exist like that anymore to some extent. And it's just a great throwback to your childhood and just an innocent time. And it's a lot deeper film than people give it credit for. And it's just an instant classic. If you haven't seen Stand By Me, you must.
It's interesting that you say it's about innocence when it's really it's kind of about innocence being lost,
Mm.
So M3, why don't you tell us what you thought of it?
Boom, ba boom, ba boom. Hey, Gordy wrote the little short story of the fat kid that got his revenge on the fucking audience and had that pie eating contest on purpose and threw up. And it was a barfarama. It was great. Chopper, sick balls. Fucking epic, dude. This movie from start to finish, when he pulls out the gun and just is like, he's had it. Fuck you, bully. You're done here. I can't really say anything else. Those are the key components that really came into my mind. But you go on a trip. Their whole trip is to go see a dead body. They wanted to go see, which Prophet just kind of nailed it with the end of innocence. Like, whoa. Once you see a dead body with flies on it and decaying, crazy. I love this movie. It's really good. I've probably seen it 5 times. Brian King says, "Stand By Me, great movie. Had people digging Ben E. King song." Yeah, great song.
Yeah, especially when you see that the dead body you've gone to see was actually a kid you knew from your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Moto, why don't you give us your 2 cents?
Oh, it's definitely a coming of age movie. It's a great movie that I think of. The funny thing that I noticed about this movie is it has a group of 4. And as I grew up, it seems like I was in a group of 4. It's always 4 good friends. So you saw the coming of age. You saw the coming age of each character. The kid that was already labeled a thug, who was destined to be nothing more than a thug, who makes it out and becomes a lawyer. The other one who becomes a hometown mechanic. I mean, and so forth, but it's on this travel that they discover a lot of stuff. And the leech scene in the lake, loved it. The train coming and Gordy, yeah, that had me laughing. But I don't want to spoil it because I want other people to watch it. I'm sure there's people that are in their 40s that haven't seen this movie, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend this movie just to sit back, listen to that Innocence era that rock and roll grease. Forgive me for lack of a better term, a way to describe it. Era movie, and just the coming of age of all of it. And the thing is deep down inside, we can all relate to each character, even the bully, even his Ponzi's, even his one of his cohorts is the big brother of Gordy. So it's all cool how
Yeah, that was John Cusack.
yeah.
John Cusack again.
You know what I mean? When he actually thinks that his daddy wishes it was him, it should have been you. You know what I mean? Shit like that goes through this kid's head. I mean, there's things that all of us can relate to in every one of these characters, one way, shape, or form, or another. So, I mean, and here I am at 15, and I just loved it for what it was.
Movies.
Yeah, it
from
was an amazing
1986.
movie.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Platoon, I would have gave this Best Picture.
Yeah.
But it was picked by 4 of us, so it gets a rank of A.
Movies by in
M3, do you want to address the chat before we move on?
Absolutely. DFS says no one has time for this in 2025. Other than that, it's just back to nobody's commenting on anything for Stand By Me except for Brian King.
All right. Moving on. The next on the list is Star Trek 4, one of my favorite Star Trek movies. But again, 86 was so hard to narrow it down. Ed, why don't you tell us, why you have a double dumbass on you?
Exactly. And Caveman, jump in anytime you feel like on this. Star Trek 4 is not my favorite of the Star Trek films, but it was at the time, it was very cool and hip at the time. I think what was this? This was 86, yeah. And just seeing them interact, this first time on the big screen we saw the original cast interact with people of our time at that time, and to see them, that interaction is fun. I'm missing some of the quotes. I'm a big Star Trek fan, obviously, and Caveman, I'll let you talk more about it, but I love this film. It's great.
Yeah,
there'll be whales here.
The thing about it, again, this is not my favorite Star Trek movie. However, this is probably the most popular of the Star Trek movies with the original cast. I think it did the best at the box office. It just had, because they came back in time to and they ended up in 1986 to catch some whales. And, I think it helped people relate to the characters a little bit better, and that's what made it work. And there's so many great lines in this. Still not the best line out of all of Star Trek isn't in this movie, even though there's lots of great lines, double dumbass and colorful metaphors and sorry, it's the Enterprise. And yes, could you help us find the naval base in Alameda? Try across the bay in Alameda, which, that scene they actually filmed, it was just with people off the street. And especially like that, the one, everybody knows this one, I guess. Well, but if you're not a Star Trek fan, I guess you don't. But where Chekhov goes up to the cop and is asking for directions to the naval base, and he's just staring at him. That was all. That wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. Those are just people off the street.
That man gave me a pill and I grew a kidney.
Thick Russian accent.
Yeah, yeah. And
one last thing.
The scene with the in the elevator at the hospital, and Bones goes off and says, "Goddamn Dark Ages! What is this? The Spanish Inquisition?"
The doctor gave me a pill and I grew a new kidney.
Yeah. And of course Bones he's like my favorite character on out of the original cast, and
the good thing about this is you did not have this was before the question of why does God need a starship?
Yeah. And see, well, this movie kind of sets the stage for that, because they had so much comedy in this film that they tried to do that again, and it didn't work. Well, part of it was, poor scripting and Paramount cut the funding a lot, and William
Don't try to
Shatner's
forget
first
Star
time
Trek
out
5.
directing Star Trek might have been his first time out directing.
It shows.
But with this one, this was mainly the brainchild of Leonard Nimoy, because he and Shatner were deeply involved with like Greenpeace and Save the Animals and all of that. And one of those you can still call today, and they still use. Shatner recorded a message for him that when people call in, then they get this message, and they still use that today. And he's not from Kansas, Sean Eason. He's from Iowa. He only works in space.
There you go.
Okay.
So, but a great movie, and for anybody looking to what is Star Trek about, this is a great entry movie for that. Just because, again, it makes the characters a little more relatable to see how out of time they actually are in the modern, at least what was the modern times at the time this film was made. So.
Right. Sean, incidentally, is one of my real world friends. In the chat there, Sean Easton, that's one of my real world
yes,
friends.
I wasn't trying to call you out, Sean, but
Hello, Sean.
I had to.
He's not upset. I correct him all the time.
I got one thing to say about Star Trek. If Disney bought Star Trek, they might actually be good.
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. And
shut up.
Yeah, in Star Trek 4, they told a lot of jokes, and then Star Trek 5 was a joke.
pretty much.
But only 2 people had room for it on their list, and therefore it gets a rank of C. Next on the list, we've got Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This is all you, Moto. Take it away.
Me? Only I picked this movie?
Yeah.
You'll pick her.
Well, this movie is pure entertainment from beginning to end. Hilarity ensues. 2 kids calling a radio station, having a good time. They find out what happens when you fuck with some people in Texas. Radio DJs, guy gets his face peeled, survives. Girl goes into the house. There's said girl there. Y'all just need to watch it. I don't want to spoil these kind of movies, because I will tell you this movie line for line, script for script, but I don't want to do that. But all I can tell you is that in the era of 1986, and I remember that when we got our first VCR, and we went to the video store, and everybody got to pick out a movie, because back then that shit was expensive even to rent.
Mm-hmm. Sure was.
I like this movie right here on VHS when it first came out was like $80. I'm like, fuck out of here. I wouldn't even pay that today's money. But anyway, we rented this, and this is the very Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the very first movie I ever watched on a VHS player, and I watched it with my mom because she told about how her and my Uncle Paul used to go to the drive-in, and they saw it twice at the drive-in because it was, it was that generation. So when this movie came out and I saw it, I knew the back history of it. And this one was very comical to me, but the gore was great. The writing was great, but it's 1986 writing. So to me, it's probably one of the best well-done Chainsaw Massacre movies done if you want that lunacy about it. You can go in all kinds of ways about it. You can go King, you can go Spielberg, you can go Hitchcock. You can go any way you want with it. But the way they went with this one, and considering it was 1986, I loved it, especially when the old man who makes his world-famous chili says, "Where the hell did I put that fuck you, Charlie?" Because here today I am at 52 years old, and I recite that line from this movie all the time. Where did I put that fuck you, Charlie? And I'll leave it at that.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, all I remember of this film is what's his name, Chopper there, like scratching his metal plate with a coat hanger. Oh,
and then putting it to his mouth, and then he take a piece of skin and put it to his mouth.
Yeah, let's move on. It's Anyways, next up we've
I'm
got The
biggest
Fly,
fan.
Ooh.
picked by M3, Moto, and Curtis. And Curtis, you haven't gone first in forever. Why don't you go first, sir?
Great cast, of course, Jeff and Gina. Great cast. Great. I think it's better than the original, because it's just gory, better, special effects. Everybody, I believe, knows the story. Guy is trying to do teleportation, and he goes to experiment on himself, and there's a fly in the thing, and it mixes with his body, and he ends up slowly turning into a giant fly, and it's very gross at the end, very, very gross. But yeah, it's a good little remake of The Fly, and I personally think it's better than the original Fly movie, The Fly. So, except for the original movie has that help me, and they don't have it in this. So
Yeah.
but that's okay. So next person can go ahead and go and get it.
Yeah, M3, go ahead. I'll say this one thing, Curtis. At least this one doesn't have a guy in a suit with a fly's head.
Yes.
Go ahead, M3.
Although, if there was a 6-inch action figure, you'd buy it. Anything with Jeff Goldblum, anybody can correct me and tell me one bad movie Jeff Goldblum's ever been in. Every one of his movies are cool. The guy's great. Gina Davis, very, very, very cool. The whole concept when me as a kid, I used to fuck around with like taking little TVs apart, and I'd like to always see how things work. So inventor movies are always really good with me. And the way he had his apartment set up, I loved the whole concept of teleportation. And yeah, if you're not checking yourself and thinking, what if something got in there? What's going to happen? You never know. Well, that's what happened. A fly got in that chamber and altered his DNA. They merged. Interesting. I wonder what happened to the fly. Did he turn into a human? Does it go both ways? He's now this little 1-inch fucking human running around because he got the human DNA. I always wondered stuff like that. Part 2 is great because guess who had a baby? And guess what that baby was? A little maggot is all squirming around. That's part 2. But great movie.
It's in The Fly also.
Once he started deteriorating, he was enjoying his deterioration as a human. And he was like going to the mirror and popping off an ear. And he was like, and save it, And it was proud to tell his girlfriend, look what's happening to me. I'm trying to look. And he's strong, gets strengths and shit. Beautiful, beautiful flick. Deserves an Oscar in my head.
Giant bus sacks.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know if beautiful is how I would describe it. Moto, how about you?
I loved this movie for the gore. Now, I never heard of Jeff Goldblum until this movie. But and this movie was a rental. This wasn't going to a theater or anything. This movie was a rental, and I watched it, and I was like, "Holy shit, this movie's fucking great." I was a fan of Fangoria magazine, so to see the work that they actually put into this movie alone, the actors to me are they're not the best. They're not on the top of my list of actors. But whoever put the special effects together and put this movie together did a great job, an absolutely great job of this movie. I recommend watching it. Yeah, I mean, there's so much more you could go on with, but geez, I'm going to leave it with just the simple fact of one man trying to strive to become the best, and one little flaw is all it took to destroy everything, everything that he created. So obsession becomes, well, your obsession, if your work obsession, fucker, what am I trying to say? If you become obsessed with work, work becomes obsessed with you. And that's the only thing you are, is a person of work. Because if you remember, he has a wardrobe of the same clothes every day of the week.
Prophet, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, M3.
At the end, he gets his head blown off with a shotgun. It's great.
Yeah, and incidentally, to answer your question, M3, The Fly merges with him. They become one being. That's why he transforms. But yeah, this is a great movie picked by 3 people, and therefore it gets a rank of B.
See, because
Next
if you
on the
remember
list-
M3, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you got something more to say about it before I
I was
move
just
on.
going to say M3. If you remember, everything that he transported, even Champies, they came back inverted.
Mhm. You're right. The
Right.
dog. Yep. Oh, that's
Inside out.
Yep,
Right.
you're right.
But
Right.
with the fly, because there's 2 species in one chamber, the computer merged them together.
Got it. Perfect.
Next
And
on
that's
the
all
list,
from having sex with Gina Davis. He got that. He figured it out.
The Karate Kid Part 2. Great sequel. Didn't have room for it. Ed, take us into the Karate Kid Part 2.
Oi!
This is probably yeah. Thanks for the voiceovers there with the trailer. I like the first one. This one, I don't know why I like this. This has the Glory of Love song in it, which is a great Peter Cetera song. And when you think of Karate Kid, you probably think of that song. But this just continued Daniel LaRusso, and into before there was Cobra Kai, there was Karate Kid, and now there's going to be whatever Karate Kid's Legends with. I'm looking forward to with help me out. What's the actor?
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan, which I think is a great choice. Even though he's getting up there in age, he can still kick it around. But this is a great story about Karate Kid Part 2 is a great story about being young and being in love and fighting for the honor of someone and yourself, knowing your limitations. Mr. Miyagi to me was basically he was Yoda. What Yoda was to Luke Skywalker, Mr. Miyagi is obviously to Daniel. And this takes us, help me out here, K-Man. It takes us over to, is it Japan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okinawa.
Okinawa, yeah.
And I think Jerry Bruckheimer might have directed this. I could be wrong on that, but it's just a great film, and I really enjoyed it. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm probably completely wrong. I don't know why that name's popped in my head. No, Pat Morita's in it.
John G. Avildsen.
Okay, I just pulled that out of the air apparently, but I still love this film, and it has a place in my heart. It's very mid 80s for me, and when I think of the 80s, I think of this film a lot. So, yeah, and that song, I love it.
Here's a hot take. I think that his Japanese girlfriend in this is way hotter than Elizabeth Shue.
I agree with you. On that.
But as good a movie as it is, only one person picked it, and it gets a rank of D. Next on the list, The Three Amigos.
The 3
picked by M3. M3, why don't you explain to us how you can watch a Martin Short movie and not be
He likes
irritated?
it because it's got 3 in it.
Martin Short, did you see the? Hey, did you guys see the airplane flying by? It's got the little ball.
I think it's a mail plane.
It's a mail plane.
How can you tell?
Great movie, super funny. Chevy Chase, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. Great Saturday Night Live setup. I love it. Great little funny. Favorite part, and I'll stop, was when they go into the bar after somebody said, "Hey, watch out for anybody that comes in here. They're dressed a little differently." Well, they happen to supersede or come in front of the Germans that go in there that are the real bad guys, and these guys get this, "Oh shit!" and the whole Buttercup song, dude. Oh man, they take a shot at tequila. They're just the fucking pansiest ass movie actors that you could possibly be, putting themselves in Mexico, dealing with some actual cartel stuff, but don't know it and play it perfectly. And it's not cartel. It's a guy, El Guapo, that wants to take over a town. And then it's a good, at the end, everybody, camaraderie, and they get together and they defeat the bad guys. El Guapo dies at the end. Great movie. Love it. It's kind of like
M3. Would you say that I have a plethora of sweaters?
What is a plethora? It's a lot.
Oh, yes.
How famous? You're so famous, you're infamous. I love it, dude.
Yeah, incidentally, this is the same plot as Tropic Thunder.
And not walking. What's the one with the Rock and he's going into the deep Amazon, and they got to get the
Jungle Cruise.
No, sorry, Prophet. I'll stop.
Jungle Booty.
Not Walking Tall, but the Rundown. The Rundown. It's like that.
Oh, the one with Sean William Scott.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
All right, if you say so. But anyway, Slice at M3 is the only one that picked this, and it gets a rank of D. M3, do you want to address the chat before we move on?
Absolutely. We'll start with your buddy here, Sean Eason. He says progression horror is an art. Brian King threw up at probably The Fly, maybe. Sean Eason says Cronenberg, amazing work. DFS says shout out to Lone Dragon and 1 Inch Human. Shout out Lone. Brian King said KK2. Not sure what's KK2, Prophet.
Karate Kid.
Karate Kid 2.
Oh, okay. Yes. That took me a second. But yeah, there's the chat there.
All right. Moving on. Next, we've got Top Gun. Picked by Ed, M3, myself, and Curtis. M3, why don't you start us off on this one?
Another favorite movie of my dad's. Brought it home. He loved it. I liked it. I'm not going to say anything about it other than it's just literally it's my number one favorite of 1986. It's written down right here in front of me. Great cast. I love the songs in it. I love that he loses his best friend.
I just want to that scene in the trailer right there. Did anyone else in their minds hear him calling him a slacker?
Yeah, he's slacker.
All right, sorry, M3. Go ahead.
No, you're good now. Yeah, perfect. And it sucks. He loses his friend, and then he deals with the torment and himself that it was his fault or whatever. He's got to let go. And it's too bad that Michelle Gillis or
Kelly McGillis
really, if she's watching this, I'm sorry, girl. She didn't take care of herself as she got older. It's too bad. I think even 20 years ago, she lost her hotness way too soon is what I think. But great movie. I'll stop right there. Let somebody else go because there's a lot of good. I like Iceman. Val Kilmer is great.
Talk to me,
All
Goose.
right, Moto, how about you?
Talk to me, Goose.
I didn't pick it.
Oh, you didn't pick this? I thought it was. Oh, Ed, you picked it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah. This is a rare movie that I probably saw it a billion times. Easily my top pick of 1986. When I think of 1986, Top Gun's the first thing I think of. And a rare case in Hollywood, the follow-up to it 30 years later or whatever, Maverick, I think is a better film. And I love them equally. And I'm always been a big Tom Cruise fan. This cemented it for me. And I've been a Tom Cruise fan through everything, even through the latest Mission Impossible that I can't wait for this year. This movie is so great. It's incredibly iconic. It is so 80s. It is quintessential 80s. The airplanes. Oh my gosh. I started I was probably collecting little air jets and all that, but yeah, I was definitely increased my collection at that time after seeing Top Gun so many times. It's one of those movies that it's like Back to the Future was to 1985, to me. It's so much part of the landscape. It's almost impossible to describe it and do it justice, how great a film this is. Is it as good as some of the best films ever made? No, but it was so much fun and you felt like you were in that cockpit. And, everybody could identify with losing a friend like he did in there, and having that rivalry that's really good, that rises you above who you can be, and the cockiness of Maverick in this film. And then he gets knocked down a little bit, but in the end, they can all see the differences on the different sides that they're on, competing, him and Iceman, to see them kind of come together and just be a brotherhood and all. It's a great film for that. And I can't say anymore. It's so wonderful.
Yeah. Brian King says greatest recruitment movie ever. Incidentally, I remember one of my uncle's friends was a recruiter, and he said he had to tell like hundreds of people that one of the requirements for being a pilot was 20/20 vision. And he's like, all these people were joining specifically to be pilots, and it's like, bro, like 1% of you gets to go on to be pilots.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. I thought it was amazing. Goose's death made me cry, especially when his wife got the news.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to say much more about it. Curtis,
Meg Ryan.
you could be my wingman anytime.
I was just about to say that. You could be my wingman anytime. Yeah, it's really good. Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, a couple other guys in there. Great cast. You know, the whole at the bar singing thing. Use that a few times. Great stuff. But you know, you guys pretty much explained it all. It's a great movie. I'm sure everybody's seen it. Very fun to watch. Romantic movie because girls like it too. So that's all I got to say about that. And you guys can be my wingman anytime.
Sounds like you've lost that love and feeling.
I've lost that love.
Sean says Top Gun, a perfect example of pacing and how editing saves a film. Brian King, I already said, greatest recruitment movie ever. Great movie. And then Brian King says again, some of my friends joined the Navy, and pretty sure it was because of this movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool. But yeah, this movie had 4 people's vote, so this movie gets a rank of A. Next on the list, I think this might be the last film of the night, guys. And this one's all digital caveman, and M3 absolutely hates it.
God.
But
No, I
Digital,
love
why don't
it.
you explain to us why M3 is wrong?
How could anybody
I'm
not?
with you, Digital. I'm with you, Digital.
You know, this is the Transform. When I think of a Transformers movie, when somebody says, "Hey, did you see the Transformers movie?" Yeah, I saw the Transformers movie. I saw that shit back in 1986. You know, that's what I think when I think Transformers movie. This is what I think of, and as it's showing now, you know, Leonard Nimoy, Robert Stack, and you know, lots of famous people in the movie didn't go on to reprise their voice acting in the show. But I mean, this is one of those movies that will scar you as a child because you know they're killing off the heroes that you've grown to love over 2 seasons of a show and through the toys. And you know, the death of Optimus Prime was it was a traumatic thing to go through. I remember I didn't get to see this in the movie theater. I had to watch it on VHS the first time, and I can't believe they just fucking killed Optimus Prime. How do you kill Optimus Prime?
Yeah.
And you know, and so you know, distraught so many kids that's the reason G.I. Joe the movie, I think the following year, didn't get a theatrical release. And they went back and changed at the beginning where Serpentor throws the snake spear at Duke. Originally he died, and they, because of Optimus Prime dying, they went back and changed it. And so you know, this movie had reach beyond just Transformers. And you know, Orson Welles, this was Orson Welles' final performance, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in his hospital bed.
And so you know, I think that was great casting there for Unicron. And you know, Leonard Nimoy is Galvatron. I mean, just Leonard Nimoy, period. His voice is you know, I wish he'd have done more voice over
Yeah,
work.
his best show ever was in Search of.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. So, but you know, I mean, if you haven't seen it, also M3, you're very wrong. This is the Transformers movie.
Yeah,
it even says it in the title, The Transformers, the movie. Okay. Optimus Prime dies, motherfucker.
Get over it.
All right. Yeah. Well, since this is the last film, M3, if you would address the chat one last time, and We're going to break the little rule of nobody talking about the movie unless they picked it, just to allow M3 to say, why do you hate it?
Okay, real quick before I address the chat, I will drop a deuce on Galvatron, fucking Hot Rod, and Dead Optimus Prime, and I will come on her lips and come on her tits. Fuck you, Debbie, with gosh dang RC. Love that chick, but this movie, it fucking made me. I almost walked out of the movie theater. Me and my best friend Kevin, at 10 years old, went to the movie theater, sat down, and expected this great flick, and all of our fucking friends died. They killed everybody and introduced G2. Fuck G2, fuck this movie, and fuck anybody that says it's the greatest movie of mankind. Let me go back to Kaz. Casual Toy Collector says, simply the best movie of 86. Fuck you, Kaz. Best comedy, best romance, sci-fi drama. Sam Newsman, GoBots are better. Rock Lords are superior. Fucking back down. Brian King. Kaz even went as far to say she got the Nobel Peace Prize. Fuck that. Mike is the greatest soundtrack. Fuck that soundtrack. Brian King cried. Fuck your tears.
Yeah, the soundtrack was badass. That's a badass soundtrack.
Nah, I don't really hate this movie that bad as an adult. Just made me realize when I was a kid, I was done. It was literally the transition point of me getting out of toys and playing football. And that's when I went football and started playing Pop Warner. And then from there into high school. And then I dropped my toys because of this movie. Okay, that's why I hate it so much.
All right, M3 doesn't realize this, Digital, but that was a trap. Go ahead and rebut him.
Yes, I need to rebut that. The fact that this movie upset you so much that you got up out of the theater and walked out is why it is the Transformers movie. It got you on such an emotional level when they killed Optimus Prime that you got up and walked out of the theater.
Yes.
Now, of course, that was not their aim. You know, that wasn't the aim. It was just, hey, let's clear out all these characters so we can bring in some new characters. You know, that was the whole reason behind it. But, you know, I guess they just didn't realize how attached that fans of Transformers were to these characters. And that's why it is the Transformers, the movie.
That's what happens when you create a story or a toy with stories.
Yeah.
With, character stories.
Yeah.
Well, and as pivotal as this was in a lot of childhood psychology, still Digital was the only one who had room for it on his list, and therefore it got a rank of D.
That easily could have been my number one, easily.
But yeah, it didn't make the top 10, Kurt.
Just leave me out here hanging, Curtis.
I know, I should have. It was hard. It was so hard.
Right. Well, anyway, slice it, fellas. That's the list of 86 there. I think we all had some very good picks. I don't think M3 has any room to like bash Digital's choice of Transformers when he picked Howard the Duck. But you know, that's life, and that's how things go, man. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I believe, as tradition dictates, we're gonna end the stream, and Curtis will now open it up to throw a link out there to invite some folks backstage to have a little private conversation with us off the air, where I can't offend anyone else.
Sean, let's meet your buddy Sean. Sam.
Sean works at like 4:00 in the morning. I'm actually surprised he's still here. So if Sean does want to jump on, that'd be great, but I wouldn't expect it.
Cool.
Sean, is that you? What movie is that from?
Hi, Sean.
Yeah, but what's up, Ed?
You guys don't know what
I was
movie
just
that's
saying,
from?
everybody didn't drop their links where they could be found.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Everybody go through and like, here, let me just go ahead and stop sharing this screen. And everybody go ahead through and tell everybody where you could be found, all the panelists.
You can find me right here.
Curtis, obviously, we're already on his channel. I'm just the Profit Director. Type me in at the Profit Director and you'll find me. Ed, how about you?
I'm on youtube.com, at Geek Homeworld 4248. Just look up Geek Homeworld, you'll find me. And we talk film, TV, and tech. And thank you, Prophet, for letting me be a part of this panel as well.
Not a problem, my friend. Digital?
The Digital Caveman. You can find me mostly at youtube.com/@digitalcaveman with 2 N's. Don't go to that one with 1 N because that's not where you want to end up. So, but for all your toy review needs, please check out my YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram a lot, and you can contact me through that. I'm on a few Discord channels here and there, and that's about it.
M3.
M3 reviews. Don't look for me. Don't even try and find me. Thank you.
And Moto Viper.
You can find me at M3 Reviews.
But don't look there.
And Star Wars Squawk Box, as well as 3 Live Stream.
Very nice. And last thing I'll say before we cut it short, Curtis did put a link in the chat, so anyone who wants to join us backstage, the link is there. The last thing I'll say about any of these movies tonight is about Transformers. And RC in Transformers is the reason that I have a fetish for female robots.
Wait till you meet Chromia.
Don't make it worse.
Yeah, we're gonna get you. We're gonna get you into on the Transformers train, man.
Transformers more than meat stuff.
But yeah, I just want to say thank you to Prophet too, and Curtis for hosting the show, but Prophet for putting all his work into it. You guys, as we all know, but just for a shout out, Prophet, very good work, very good marquee in the background, always changing up the letters, the numbers, and the pictures, man. I really appreciate it because it gives me an opportunity to hang out with y'all on a level of just like listening to our deep mind thoughts on certain movies, and movies are a great role in our life. It's great. Thanks, Prophet. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Prophet too on his bad attitude on creating, slides and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I also want to thank everybody for, sending me their condolences and stuff for my dad. So I really appreciate it. It was great. But yeah, so tomorrow's the final finish of all that stuff. Yeah. But anyways, onto that. Anybody got anything to say?
No,
I think we've all said it.
Alrighty then.
Everyone in the chat, have a good night. Sean, enjoy your sleep. I know you got to work really early tomorrow. Savannah on film, looks like you just got here, but welcome. There's a link if you want to join us backstage.
He's already
And
here.
with that, good night, folks.
Night, everybody. Thanks for coming in.
Take us out, Curtis.
We are out, brothers. See you next time. The last Sunday of March will be the next show.
1987.
1987. Good night. Good. You have a good week. Be safe and say your prayers and eat your vitamins.